I started work at the self-chaining gears in 1975, and that's where I was a skilled fitter, and I was fitting brake bands into lorries' gearboxes. And then when it come to the chain 12 gearbox, we had to file the brake band. I was doing that for quite a while, at certain times of the day, you know. So I worked there till 1993. Then they moved us all up to Cross Point, Walsgrave.
Well, Paul's case was a particularly tragic case of a man in his prime looking forward to spending the rest of his days in his retirement with his wife. Essentially, he was given a death sentence when he was diagnosed with mesothelioma.
Paul started feeling unwell in early November 16. Went to see the GP, had a blood test done, sent him into hospital on the Wednesday morning for a scan and lots of other tests. And after that, eventually diagnosed that it was peritoneal mesothelioma.
Well, Paul was essentially diagnosed with a condition called mesothelioma, which is a cancer caused by asbestos, which is inhaled into the lungs. Essentially, the body cannot dispel the fibres. They are extremely carcinogenic, and over time the fibres cause the cells to mutate, which eventually causes a tumour to develop. It's a particularly painful condition. It can develop in the peritoneum or in the pleura, which is the lining of the lungs.
We didn't know what peritoneal mesothelioma was, but we knew it was something in the abdomen, because that's where she showed us on the scan, that's where the mass was. We're told, her exact words were, "I think we can't cure this, but we can treat it." He had no options of surgery or radio, it had to be chemo.
He was a man simply doing his job when he was exposed to asbestos by his employers, when they knew or ought to have known that it was dangerous to do so.
The consultant had already suggested that we take legal advice because it was asbestos related. Spoken to Paul's niece, and her solicitors suggested Higgs Sons. Our first impressions were, you're quite a charming young man with the client's interests at heart, actually, because you got straight down to asking the important questions, taking the witness statement, even on the first interview. So we're quite impressed, actually.
Well, mesothelioma claims are particularly specialist claims that should only be undertaken by solicitors that have been doing this work for a number of years. The first job of the solicitor is to identify who the employer was at the relevant time. And in those circumstances where the employer is no longer in existence or trading, then ultimately it will be for the solicitor to identify who the insurers were at the relevant time. What is important to say is that these conditions take many years to manifest from the time of exposure. Often in mesothelioma, it can take between 30 and 40 years from the time of exposure to the time that the condition is developed.
It got quite complicated because in the terms of the legal case, the company Paul worked for weren't trading anymore. And it was only after Andy traced the insurers, and then even after that it was difficult because they refused to accept any liability whatsoever for a long, long time.
Well, I think it takes a special person to deal with claims for mesothelioma. The lawyer will need to be responsive, they'll need to be empathetic, and they'll need to have the best interests of the client at heart, and ultimately strive to achieve compensation in the shortest amount of time possible.
The reason for making the claim was to get justice for myself, and that somebody was to blame for what happened, and to help my wife Daphne when I've gone. And that's the main reason why we did it.
We really do appreciate the support from Higgs Sons. With Paul still at the moment feeling reasonably well, he can actually enjoy the money and buy what he wants when he wants, which I think is brilliant. And we've actually arranged some holidays.
Me and my team have been specialising in industrial disease cases for over 20 years, and we understand the need to achieve results in the quickest time possible.
I have actually recommended Higgs Sons to some people we've met.
Because they were very professional, and they kept Daphne informed every step of the way. So I was very, very pleased with them. And we'd tell anybody to go to them, you know.
They were always there, even if we didn't hear for a long time. We know we could always phone and speak to them.
The very fact that a person makes a claim that is ultimately successful will provide a sense of justice, whilst at the same time providing financial security for their loved ones.
At the end of the day, I'm pleased that the insurers came up with the right decision for us.